Order, please call the roll.
Coos.
Here.
Gage. Harris.
Present.
Isom.
Here.
Kiefer. Severson.
Here.
Zingy.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. First thing we have on deck is a public hearing on ordinance 15-1804, amending the chapter 1112 telecommunications services and rates. Is anybody here to speak to that tonight? Seeing none, we'll close that. Brings us down to communications. We have some requests to withdraw some items since we're missing 2 members. The rate increase items of the agenda. Does the council have any protest on that?
No.
Hearing none, we will pull those items. That brings us down to, I'm going to do a little something different. One thing we want to do is, I've had some comments from council members that would like to recognize some members of the city staff that done some excellent work and above and beyond, and we'd like to recognize some of the efforts they do. And we have 2 members here from the staff, I believe they're here, that we wanted to recognize. And the first one's Matt Brown. Matt, you here? Come on up to the podium, please. Thank you, Matt. Not to put you on the spot or anything, but I do have something to read. Matt Brown deserves high accolades for his role in the Ketchikan General Hospital addition and alteration project. He has worked tirelessly to ensure that the city of Ketchikan and thus the residents of Ketchikan receive a high quality, high value end product. Matt is the project team member working with Peace Health, the end user, NAC, the architect, Dow, the city project manager, Leighton Dawson, the construction manager, general contractor, and specialty sub-consultants. He participates in team meetings and coordinates the work review of necessary project scope changes and associated costs. Matt is vital in understanding the local contracting construction industry in a role that is often overlooked. Matt has made key contributions that have resulted in an amazing project. And I had people, it wasn't me that came up with all this. I had people that wanted to make sure that you were recognized for that. And I appreciate all your effort. So we do have a little something here for you. And we thank you very much for your effort. The next one is Ryan Hannes. Ryan, you here? Actually, Ryan, I wouldn't be interested in doing this if I knew that you're going to have to cancel basketball practice and my grandson come to practice, which he needs. So it finally dawned on me when he told me he didn't have practice why. But we're glad you're here and a member of the staff. On September 25th, a detective of the Ketchikan Police Department was assigned a specific larceny case in which a female was alleged to have stolen monies from multiple accounts belonging to a recently deceased male. The case involved examining a substantial amount of financial records from local and out-of-state banks. The detective obtained multiple search warrants and clearly identified a trail of monies being removed from the deceased accounts and transferred to the suspect and members of her family. The detective executed a search warrant on the suspect's residence and recovered $124,421 in stolen cash and found the suspect was planning on leaving the state within weeks. The detective also found the suspect had an active marijuana grow in her residence. The female was charged with theft in the first degree, 3 counts of theft in the second degree, forgery in the first degree, and misconduct involving controlled substance in the 4th degree. In January of this year, the female has pleaded guilty to felony charge in Ketchikan as well as felony charge in the state of Washington. For his thoroughness and dedicated service to the city of Ketchikan and the Ketchikan Police Department, would like to recognize Detective Ryan Hannes for his work and effort. Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you, everybody, for let us take time to recognize those individuals that are doing a great job for the city of Ketchikan. All right, that brings us down to pieces, persons to be heard, and we got a lot of them. I guess to temper the amount of speaking, and most of it's going to be on our retail banning ordinance, which is going to fail tonight with the missing members, unless Judy's going to vote for it and KJ's going to vote for it. Are any one of you guys going to vote for it? So I doubt if.
Oh, for the ban. No,
yeah.
excuse me, I was just
Yeah.
kidding. No, thank you very much.
So this is going to fail tonight, and then we'll be back to square one where we have nothing. And so in March, unless some council members come forward with 4 people, I'm hoping that, I don't know what else in the way is going to proceed, if anything. Bob is also on the agenda tonight, has a thing about going out to vote. So I recommend if you're going to talk about anything, I'd talk about maybe your support or not support for a vote, but I just want to let you know ahead of time that 6A1, the ordinance prohibiting retail, is going to go down in defeat tonight, so you know ahead of time. All right, Isaac Vandenberg, come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm a little off topic tonight. I know there are some hot button issues behind me, so I'll try to make this brief. My name is Isaac Vandenberg. I'm the executive director with the, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah,
with the Alaska Small Business Development Center. You all have supported the Alaska Small Business Development Center over the past few years. I'm not going to be able to be here on the February 4th meeting, which is the more appropriate meeting for this topic. However, I did just want to come in person and meet you all. And wanted to provide you a little bit of an update of where we've been and where we're going. We've had a full-time employee here for a few years, and we've produced some great successes. 2 that you may be familiar with is Catch a Creatures, who we've worked with hand in hand and became a success story with us. And then another one is Tonga Substance Screening, who was one of our clients and won the SBA Business of the Year Award. We've had some good success. Our organization delivers free and confidential business advising and lower no-cost workshops. And so those kinds of businesses that have started in the community and grown are what we're trying to produce. And even though we've had some great successes, I think that there is potential for Ketchikan SBDC way above and beyond what we've done to date. And this last year, just to give you some context, the Alaska SBDC, we have 7 offices in the state, and we had our best year in 29 years in all of our key metrics. So we track things like job creation, business creation, helping clients get loans, having long-term engagements with clients, and then success stories, which is this thing that we track, which has a bunch of factors involved with it, and basically you have to meet a bunch of criteria to become a success story. So even though we had the best year in our 29-year history this year, the Ketchikan SBDC, I think, still has a lot of potential to come up to that bar, and so one of the reasons why I'm here meeting with you today is letting you know that we have some great ideas moving forward, and I think the main message that I want to send is that some next steps for us are to really engage in a way with industry that we haven't in the past. So for example, we've had a series of meetings with Vigor Industries to ask them for input as to how we can be supporting businesses that support the shipyard, to bring some of those businesses back out of Seattle and into Ketchikan. We're engaging with our board members. Again, Renee Schofield is with Tonga Substance Screening, to ask how we can have more relevant to supporting sort of the healthcare sector here and to having businesses that operate within the healthcare sector. I've exchanged emails with Councilmember Isom, and we're engaging more with the chamber moving forward and considering, again, with Doug Ward, the possibility of starting up a business incubator and a business accelerator in Ketchikan that are focused around some specific sectors. So I just wanted to come in person, let you know that I really appreciate your support, and also just be available for communication or any questions that you all may have with me. So thanks for letting me.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Deborah. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm Deborah Milam from Alaska Legal Services. I live at 206 Higgins Spur, and our office is 306 Main Street. I wanted to thank the committee, the funding committee, nonprofit funding committee, for all the work, and I see, looks like you're the only one, and I wanted to thank the city council and the city for the funding they give all of us. And that's it, unless someone has a question.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
KJ, did you want to talk?
Okay. Take me half hour to get there, but I'll do it. Help me, old guy. I appreciate that. Hi, my name's KJ Harris. I live at 501 Grant. I'm speaking not as a city council member, but as a 35-year resident of the city of Ketchikan. Number one, that's not even on my notes here, but I'm sorely disappointed in this council that has had real close to a year, maybe 11 months to make some decisions. Hasn't done anything last I heard. This council was gonna back everything off till October and then maybe do something then. That's, I'm guessing, when the magic wand from the magic person will come down and say, twang, everything is figured out. We all know the answers. I don't believe this council has talked about marijuana. 3 times, 4 times maybe. I am pretty sure, and I mean this in a nice way, Katie probably had to look up the word marijuana when the law passed, because it is not talked about. Everybody's a little bit nervous about it. So I just wanted to go on, and starting with, make it real quick, in November of 2014, we voted on an act to tax regulate the production, the sale, the use of marijuana. In 11 months, what have we done? We've seen a couple of zoning photographs. Maybe one time we talked about what time we might open a store. I think we talked one time about the excise tax. Thought we wouldn't talk about that anymore. But what have we done? As far as I can see, the council's done as little as possible. Not discussed. Now we're going to go into the reasons why, and I'll make this quick. Number one, a lot of people have all the information that they know about marijuana from watching Dragnet, from seeing Reefer Madness, and from listening to the War on Drugs. And that's all they know. I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm just saying. And then there's the second half where if you drink or you smoke, you got a disease. And we're gonna die. Well, let me tell you, kids, we all breathe air. We're gonna die somewhere. So I'm not real sure we're gonna go with that one. And then you have a moral and a religious reason. I'm not gonna talk about anybody's religion because God forbid I start causing trouble. I want to remind everybody that marijuana is a natural growing plant. We may have helped it with our scientific knowledge, but it grows in the dirt. It's not a man-made chemical that we make from stuff underneath our sink in the bathroom. Nobody wants to take over Ketchikan. We just want to, because we did in the majority, I think it was a 3%, we just want the right to be able to buy what we want to use. I don't want to turn it into Amsterdam, into street smoking. I don't want to do anything like that. I just like to have some place in town where I could buy weed. Marijuana, excuse me, I don't want to call it weed. Now let's flip on the back side of that. If we're going to do that, well, first I want to jump on the edibles. Just as a reminder, if you regulate it, you have some control of the packaging, the amounts, the whatever. If you don't regulate it, people like me are going to make the edibles. And I'm not a scientist, and I doubt that anybody in this room is a scientist to know what to do. So you might want to think twice before you, or maybe you don't want to, maybe you want to ban everything. That's fine too. I personally don't care because I can grow my own weed. But if you don't regulate this, you've got no control whatsoever. Now I'm going to talk, we're 2 more subjects. One of them is, this is the evil whore that I am. We're going to talk about tax money. There is a potential to make some money, not on the 10, 12,000 people that live on this island, but when we start develop, so maybe we have a smoke club, smoke something, where those that want to can jump off a tour ship, come in, buy enough to fill a bowl, smoke a bowl of weed, pay us $30, whatever price we get, $10 to get in the door, all that money, or at least the $10 coming in, I'll go to the city, we'll work all that out. In doing and using that, you have to have the business, the employees, you have to have probably those that have tax cards or whatever, so they can handle the marijuana. Somebody's got to teach that. I always kind of wonder, is it going to be a scientist kid that knows that alpha plus 3 equals 9, or is it going to be some old stoner that does it? I'm not sure who's going to make those rules up either. And the last thing I want to talk is, what about the children? Because we all say, what about the children? Well, first, I believe we passed this law for 21-year-old people to do 21-year-old things with 21-year-old stuff, no kids involved. So I'm pretty darn sure we'll come up with some kind of a educational fund to maybe help the parents, remind the parents, don't leave your weed on the goddamn coffee table. Pick up your booze off the kitchen table, all that kind of educational stuff. But we don't have to worry about the kids because they can't have it. If we control it, we have some chance of stopping a little bit of access. If we don't control it, we don't have. And I think that's pretty much it. I just want to make sure we don't check. I have 5 pages of stuff here. Vote your conscience, because you always do. Just remember, the voters voted their conscience. I've always kind of thought this is America and the majority rule. I mean, it's not a big majority, but it's a majority. I think we voted to do something. I don't think anybody voted to hide our heads in the sands until October, and then some magic thing will happen. So that's good enough for the moment. I'm done. Thanks.
Thanks, KJ.
Thank you for your time.
Dustin Shaw.
I'll be pretty brief. I don't have a lot to say, just a few points, and given the fact that it's already doomed to fail, not all of it is 100% pertinent, but darn it, I put a lot of time into this. I'm going to read it. My name is Dustin Shull. I live at 519 Pine Street. I was born and raised in Ketchikan. I've been here for about 37 years. All 4 of my kids were born in Ketchikan. They've been raised here for the most part. My wife was born and raised in Ketchikan. Her parents, my parents, we all live here. This is our home. We've been here for decades. We're not going anywhere. Now to my comments. Prohibition does not work. We've tried it before. It failed. Prohibition was driven by people who felt the need to impose their own moral values on people who did not share those values. I urge you to consider why you would oppose the legal sale of marijuana in Ketchikan. Are you trying to impose your moral values on people that do not share them? If so, you should really reconsider your position. Prohibition will not stop the sale of pot in Ketchikan. It will ensure that those sales are done by those willing to work outside the law. Even as an illegal drug, those laws did not stop the sale of marijuana in Ketchikan. A prohibition of legal commercial sales will drive the illegal market. Do you want the sales done in a legal, taxable, and regulated manner, or do you want them done by people operating outside of the law? The harder you make it for the people of Ketchikan to obtain pot, the stronger you will make the black market. Embrace what the voters of Ketchikan and Alaska have told you. Enact the will of the people. If you cannot do that, put it on a ballot and we'll tell you what we want. We're not asking you to smoke it. We're not asking you to buy it. We're not asking you to sell it. We're asking you to let us decide for ourselves. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dustin. Curtis Tucker. Oh, no, Terrence Robbins. Terrence, you're next. I'm sorry.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Terrence Robbins with the Ketchikan Wellness Coalition. I just wanted to bring up a few facts about marijuana use with DU in Ketchikan and how it compares to where we're going to be at if there are retail stores here. Currently, well, as of our 2011 YRBS data, 52% of students in Ketchikan report having used marijuana at 1 or more times in their life. 52%. That's 32% higher than the state average. We have a problem already. 14.7% of students in Ketchikan reported using marijuana before they turned 13. That's 44% higher than the rest of the state. 28.3% of students reported using marijuana in the last 30 days, which is considered current use. 43% higher than the rest of the state. 48.9% of students in Ketchikan think that people have a slight risk or no risk of harming themselves if they smoke marijuana regularly. That's the same as the rest of the state. But almost 50% of the kids don't think it's going to hurt them if they smoke it regularly, not just once. 23.7% of students in Ketchikan think that their parents consider it a little wrong or not at all wrong for them to smoke marijuana. That's 64% higher than the rest of the state. We have a problem here. Now, what will happen if we have legal marijuana sales? Sorry. So in Colorado, past month, which is current marijuana use for Colorado youths aged 12 to 17, in the 2-year average since they legalized recreational marijuana and stores were there, youth past month marijuana use increased 20% compared to the 2-year average before that. Nationally, youth past month marijuana use during the same period of time declined 4%. So nationally, marijuana use was going down, but in Colorado, it bumped up 20% over the period of 2 years. The latest results in Colorado, youth marijuana use has gone to number 1. They were number 14 before they had medical marijuana. They were number 8 compared to other states, or number 4 after they legalized recreational or medical marijuana, and now they're up at number 1. More kids smoke per capita in Colorado than any other state in the country. At the same time, all the use rates are going down everywhere else. Colorado is not a great example. Alaska's right now number 8. So, there's not much room for us to move up. I'm sure we'll be right up there in the top 4 with Oregon and Washington and Colorado here shortly. And here's the last thing I want to say on the youth rates is Colorado youth past month marijuana use was 74% higher than the national average last year. So the national average was whatever percent. Their use rates are 74% higher than the rest of the country. So, seeing eyes, I'm confusing everyone with all the percentages, but they were only 39%.
Come to a conclusion.
That's just my last line, actually.
Thank you.
So, anyway.
We got a lot of people.
Yeah. So it's going to raise the rates. And are we doing this just for a few tax dollars? Are we doing this just for a few medical marijuana patients? Why are we going to risk the future of these kids? And look at it, we'll honestly be looking at, if we follow Colorado's trend, a youth marijuana usage rate in Ketchikan above 35%. That's what's going to happen. So, thank you.
Thanks, Terrence. Curtis Tucker.
Hi, good evening. My name is Curtis Tucker. I live at 508 Washington Street. I've been here for 66 years. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't use marijuana. But I would like to bring up one point concerning it. I remember here just not too long ago, the people of Ketchikan voted after 3 times to sell the KPU division and the telephone division, and we were told that this was a mandate of the people. And so we tried to sell it, unfortunately we didn't, I guess. This was a mandate of the people. So, but we're just gonna ignore it. So what do? Do we take which votes we want and ignore the ones we don't want because of what we feel in the city council? The people mandated this. Okay, the other thing I would like to talk about is all the raising of the rates that we're talking about, which is almost everything that we pay. I did a little math. The city council, or the city has a budget of $100 million somewhere in there. Our last census was 8,050 people in the city of Ketchikan. That's $12,400 per person in the city of Ketchikan. Guys, we're killing the town. That's way more than we should be paying for a small town. I mean, look at some of the wages we pay, from everywhere from upper management all the way down. We're paying an exorbitant amount of money for a little town. We just found out that our fish taxes completely went to hell. Where's the money gonna come from? I'm tired of paying $300 or $400 a month for my property taxes. Granted, some of it goes to the borough. It just get to the point where instead of looking at something, we say, oh, we'll just raise the rates. Well, garbage rates will go up. Well, the water rates will go up. Oh, we'll raise the electricity rates. It's okay, the people will pay for it. I talked to my daughter-in-law tonight when she was at the house, and I said, gee, Jamie, did you see, they're gonna raise the rates? And she said, well, I can't afford that. She makes $15 an hour. You know, we gotta start thinking about stuff like that instead of just raising rates when we feel that, well, we need more money, let's raise rates. I've been, like I said, I've been here 66 years, I retired here. I'm planning on staying here, but if things go the way they are, I'm not gonna be able to. I mean, I'm making it now, but we start raising rates, I'm not gonna be able to make it anymore. And that's all I got to say, thank you very much.
Thanks, Curtis. Liz Martin. Liz.
Hi, council members. Hi, everybody. Thanks for showing up, by the way. Can y'all hear me? I want to make sure you can all hear me. My name is Liz Martin. I have a cold, but I'm still going to be here because I feel like this needs to be discussed. And I understand the vote's probably not going to happen tonight, but I promised people that I would still bring their thoughts to the council. So I'm going to go ahead with my speeches. I recently asked Facebook Collective if they were afraid to speak publicly here at the council meeting to send me their thoughts, and I would deliver their information to you. So that is the first part of my speech tonight. I wish that I would have had flooded the gates with these, but I have 6 here, and I want you to be aware that there is a silent majority of voters who do not want to face persecution by coming and speaking to you. So here they are. Dear Ketchikan City Council, I'm writing this letter to you in concern of legal retail marijuana in Ketchikan. It concerns me as a council if you are willing to let go of a potential gold mine in city tax revenue. Colorado and Washington have already proved that people are willing to pay state taxes on marijuana and also city taxes. This extra revenue could not come at a better time for our schools, veteran programs, parks and recreation, our fire departments, our police departments, and our disability programs that could all benefit from this extra city tax revenue from retail marijuana. I encourage you to visit a marijuana retail shop the next time you go to Seattle. These shops are very discreet, they card everyone, you feel safe, and it's a professional setting. They're not big flashy shops with giant hookahs in the parking lot. People who want to get in the retail marijuana business know they're going to have to do it tastefully. That way, our moms, dads, aunts, grandmas, doctors, nurses, council members, teachers, librarians, and members of the PTA can all feel comfortable enough to discreetly obtain retail marijuana in a civil manner and in a professional setting. Ketchikan has the population to be able to sustain marijuana cultivation and retail sales. Missing out on the extra tax revenue from sales is a huge mistake. It's very foolish and a bad investment for Ketchikan's future. Okay. This is from another anonymous person. I have family and local government jobs, so I cannot be present to speak my views for fear of backlash on my family members. Local doctors have told me to find a way to get high CBD cannabis to treat my medical conditions because my body will no longer take the RX drugs any longer. I'm not talking about one doctor, I'm talking about 3 doctors who fully support my use of medical cannabis. However, in our state and our local community, it is impossible. So I started growing my own so that I know the strains and it would be organic. I keep it very quiet because there's so much judgmental people. Even my family members look down on me for being a pothead when it's strictly for medical reasons, fully supported by all 3 of my doctors. All that aside, I think we should let our community experience legalization without interference from the council. If a store opens and it's successful, the people have spoken. Likewise, if that same store opens and it fails, we can also assume the people have spoken. The idea that everyone can grow in their home is just plain stupid. There are many who rent, who live in condos, and those who haven't enough room, and those that just don't have a green thumb. So thank you for those who wish to remain unknown, and thank you for representing the silent majority of voters.
Liz, you still have a couple more?
I do?
Can you read one more? And then, not to cut
Yes.
you off, but we got a lot of more people yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the record, I do not use pot or any illegal drugs. I do not smoke or drink liquor, beer, or wine. I have voted in every election since legally able to do so. I believe in democracy and the citizens' rights to free speech and rights by law, one of which is the right to vote. I believe in the greater good. I know people who have benefited greatly from their use of pot. Some have chronic illnesses, some have post-traumatic stress syndrome, some have anxiety, some are cancer patients, some are just recreational users. I also believe in small business and believe that since our economy is tourist-driven and no longer resource-driven, our community has to make adjustments to its philosophy of what benefits the majority. In this case, it's economical growth and a broader tax base, which would greatly benefit a top-heavy city government that needs more and more money. So instead of inflating the values of businesses and homes to collect this money, why not encourage small business and local economic growth by allowing the business community of Ketchikan to take advantage of the end of prohibition? Are we not a progressive community? Juneau, the state capital, and Anchorage, the state's largest city, certainly sees the advantages. We must reinforce the image of a backwater village. I do not want to see an increase in my property taxes. I do not want to see another increase in my sales tax, inventory tax, planning fees, when one can get them off what break they're on whenever I go in there to be waited on. Why, for heaven's sake, is the city so against developing an economy for the local year-round residents and not just the seasonal jewelry stores, which are loud, unsafe, abusive to locals, and an embarrassment? Why the council has decided against democracy is frightening and, well, just creepy. Please note democracy is lowercase, as voting citizens and entrepreneurs are treated as lower class. Signed, a citizen too cautious to sign my name for fear of backlash.
Thanks, Liz.
I have my presentation.
Oh, you still got one?
Okay, so each time I've stood before you, I've given you statistics taken largely from the internet, from relevant sources such as the CDC and the Federal Bureau of Health and Social Services. But tonight, my statistics come from the good old AARP magazine, which I get. So, the first one is voter turnout, and it's right here in the AARP magazine that just came out this month. 84% of all persons over the age of 70 turn out to local as well as statewide elections. If that's true for our state, then the majority of legal tax-paying voting citizens who just voted for legalization are likely a high number of those at or near 70. Our state stands out in one more statistic, which I think you'll find interesting. We are third in the nation for Americans over the age of 55 who are still employed. So not only do we have a large number of mature, informed taxpayers who vote, but we also make up almost half of the working public. My point is this: there's no doubt in my mind the voters of this community, or the state for that matter, got it right. This statement could not be further from the truth. This is the third time I've spoken at a council meeting, and every time I've been here, the vast majority of people that have spoken have all been in favor of legalization. At the last meeting, 2 out of 10 people spoke against legalization. There was statistical information presented at the last meeting regarding teen use of marijuana in legalized states, and it was the same information that was presented tonight, but I would like you to share that information with me, Terrence, because I can't find it anywhere.
No problem.
The Center for Disease Control actually said that teen use of marijuana stayed flat throughout the United States. And that came from the Center for Disease Control. We as a collective community can and will make this work for all of us. Stop putting your own personal beliefs before that of your community. We voted for this. It's your job as our representatives to create a viable approach to this emerging industry. Again, remember that your vote today will be your legacy tomorrow. Your legacy could be that you embraced an emerging market and you're creating new and innovative ideas to handle the overwhelming acceptance of legalization. That you're part of a movement to decriminalize a plant, a seed that, if you will, was given to us by a higher power. And I will quote the Bible because Genesis 1:29 says, "And God said, Behold, I've given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat." The other side of that legacy thing could be this, that our representatives chose to ignore the majority vote, to ignore the tax-paying citizens of our community, and instead hide behind a piece of legislation that was not created to be used as a roadblock for your personal convictions. You will be remembered for your stellar stand on an age-old misconception that the rest of the world has already figured out. You will be remembered for denying a disabled vet his or her ability to treat their PTSD with legal obtainable medicine. You'll be remembered for denying a mother and a father their ability to see their child lead a semi-normal life free of repeated seizures. You will be remembered for not allowing patients the ability to treat cancer, epilepsy, Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, and a host of other illnesses with a safe, legal alternative to Big Pharma. I won't stop fighting for my rights. I am part of the legalization movement, and I'm not going away. It may interest you to know that the former Surgeon General of the United States, Jocelyn Elders, is going to be a keynote speaker down in San Francisco at the International Cannabis Business Conference in February. She's advocated for the legalization of cannabis since 1993. I would love to be able to go to see that. In Colorado, even small counties exceed $30,000 a month in revenue. We talked about revenue from Ketchikan possibly being maybe $32,000 a year. There's a county in Colorado today that has 9,800 full-time residents, and they're generating $32,000 a month. Why? Because everybody from the surrounding communities and other states are coming there to buy their legal cannabis. Okay, so in closing, and this is information you can obtain from Colorado.org website. They have it all out there published. I just want to leave you with this thought. Open-minded people embrace change. They embrace being wrong. They're free of illusions, and they don't mind what people think about them. And they question everything. Most importantly, they question themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan McQueen. Is Dan here? Dan McQueen? Come on, Dan.
I'd just like to say that the majority of the people voted. It doesn't matter if it's only 300 or 400 here in Ketchikan, it was the majority. If it had been the other way around, and one with all you guys had on your side, but you were ahead by one, then that would have been the answer. But it didn't turn out that way, so it's time to listen to the majority of the voters. Thanks.
Dan, thanks for keeping it quick. Glenn?
Yeah, I'm Glenn Budge, and I'm for legalizing it. I've watched other states. I'm not from the state. I came up here in 1976. I've been here ever since. I'm a veteran, and I think the city council should reconsider what they're doing, because I think that the revenue that you could generate from this would not only help a lot more than just the schools and the kids, it'd help a lot with our roads and other aspects of life.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Julian? Jillian Malou?
Oh, I'm gonna decline comment tonight.
Thank you. Gail Jackson?
I'm gonna pass.
Cynthia Sims? Go on, Cynthia.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Cynthia Sims. I moved here to Ketchikan almost 2 years ago. I was here and I was eligible to vote and did so. I am for the legalization of marijuana. My son, when he was younger, was forced on medications by doctors for ADHD and bipolar. Until he got off of those medications and went strictly to smoking marijuana, his grades did not improve until that time. He was able to graduate with honors, and that is not the only case. Myself, for over 7 years, was told that I had multiple sclerosis, and I suffered from all of those symptoms. And I took the steroids, the medications, and the anti-anxiety medications that were given to me by physicians. After 7 years, they determined I didn't have multiple sclerosis, but had no diagnosis for what was going wrong with me and why I was having these issues. Once I started using marijuana, I was able to reduce those issues, and I was able to function. Here, I cannot purchase this legally. I cannot get a quality product for sure. And to abdicate legalization is to provide jobs for this community. It's to provide a quality product for those who need it and who want to use it, whether it's recreational or medicationally. But to deny us that is denying a whole host of people that are dependent on it for medical use or could use it for medical use and are being denied that and forced to be using prescription drugs, which are all man-made and not natural, nor are they good for your body, and you have more side effects than you have benefits from these medications. And thank you for your attention, and I
Thanks,
appreciate your
Cynthia.
time.
Yeah. Don, right. I got my timer tonight, Don.
Mayor Williams, council members, Don Wright, 707 Harris, Ketchikan. And so this is just, it's kind of leading up to an end of these meetings for us, because I come out here and I know you guys understand at this point what civics classes mean about how you're supposed to vote in favor as representatives of your citizens. You're supposed to vote in favor of the majority, and so you continue not to, so there's no need to discuss that too much. And there's no need really for anything I could reasonably say to you anymore, except that, by golly, we're all friends and neighbors in this community. You know an awful lot of the people in this community. So what you're doing is you're just spitting in the face of your neighbors and the people who voted in the majority and telling them, what do you think? We're going to do this anyway. Well, that's okay. And you do this stall program where It's been over a year and you haven't done anything, and then you come up with a delightful plan. I know, we'll consider it illegal until next November. Well, geez, isn't that just what the people who lived in this community all their life and voted to stop being criminals? That's all they really wanted. They wanted to stop being criminals. They wanted it okay if they bought some cannabis. They wanted it okay if their neighbor sold them some cannabis. And neither one of them had to go to prison or stand up in court or any of that because they weren't doing anything terribly awful. I mean, what do you want, a bag of weed or a half rack of beer? Well, I think I'll take the bag. Oh, go to jail for that. Then you can get that half rack. Now, what the stats I'd like to know from this young gentleman over here who keeps bringing up all these big stats of how the use and things of, do you have the stats on any criminal activity that has increased because of that? Do you have any stats on the amount of deaths in those areas that have increased because of that? Because in our area, we don't see anything that says spider mite infection in cannabis causes 14 deaths in Colorado. Because it don't happen. Otherwise we'd see it. We know that, right? So, all I gotta say is, by golly, you guys will still be our friends and neighbors, even if you are no longer our representation. And so,
Thanks, Don.
God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Eric, Mr. Munch, Eric.
Good evening, Eric Munch, 228 Martin Street, Ketchikan. And I'm not going to talk about the benefits of pot to people with medical conditions or the harmlessness of it or the harm that can be caused to people who overdo it. The important question tonight is whether marijuana commerce in the city will be above board or underground. What must be decided tonight is not whether to keep it out of the community, because you cannot. It has been with us for a very long time. It is available to those who want it. The council does not have the power to make it illegal again. By law, it is legal to possess, grow, smoke, and make edibles of the stuff. Council only has the power to ban any of that from being done on an open, above-board commercial basis within the city. You do have the opportunity to bring it out in the open, regulated and taxed, and thereby performed by legitimate business people with investments and reputations to maintain. Those people will work within the law to keep it away from minors as much as is possible, just as is done now by the licensed alcohol commerce. Banning it will forego those opportunities and will do nothing to prevent or decrease the use. However, it may very well make this stuff safer for the people who do use it. So, in the last word, in response to Lou Williams asking us to talk about a vote, that is pretty ridiculous. We have already had a vote. You are able to see it in the statistics that the state brought forth that show that Ketchikan residents voted in favor, and we don't need to do that again. So let's stop delaying the action and simply take it on as a commercial activity in Ketchikan with whatever regulation or taxing is warranted for it.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Eric. Is Spencer here? Strasburg?
He was just outside.
Let's go to, and we'll get Spencer on the way back. MJ Cadle?
Hi, MJ Cadle, 2191 South Tongass. No, I'm not a city resident, so I kind of apologize, but we all live here. We're all impacted.
We're on the same island.
We are. First, I'm going to say I cannot honestly believe, and I would never have said a year ago that I would be here speaking about this in favor of something that I've spent my whole life against. So I have never, ever, ever, can say that, done recreational drugs beyond the very legal alcohol. I don't understand and have not understood for years why people would get wasted. I like my right mind. I spent time in the hospital and was given major meds for pain, hated them because I like to be in my right mind. I was on morphine for a year and a half and told I could stay on it the rest of my life if I wanted to. I had a never-ending prescription. I quit it cold turkey after a year and a half. I live with pain. I don't like pain. It's exhausting. It makes it hard to focus. It makes it hard to do things. But I live with pain like so many people do. It's been suggested I do pot. I don't see myself sitting there puffing away. I don't like smoking cigarettes. I'm very anti-cigarettes. It's not me. But when it became legal and someone I know and respected gave me some ointment that they said had some, was made from the stems of the plant, whatever part, it actually took me a couple of months before I would even try it. And finally I said, you know, I'm so sick of this feeling. There are days when it's just too hard to deal with the pain. And morphine, even at very high levels, and I can tell you I've been on 16.5 milligrams per hour. You're on that when you are dying. And that morphine didn't begin to touch my pain. Didn't begin to touch it. I know pain, and still sometimes this pain gets me. I tried that cream, and for the first time in 12 years, for the first time since I got out of the hospital, actually since I woke up in the hospital, because I don't remember 2.5 weeks, the pain in my feet subsided. I live with constant pain. My feet feel like they are wrapped in fishnets, probably more than you want to know, but it's constant. And it's nerve pain, and it doesn't go away. And I'm not going to take the OxyContins and the oxycodones. Long before it was trendy, I was forcing pharmacies to take the extra back. I wasn't going to throw it in the garbage just in case someone would find it. I wasn't going to sell it or give it to anyone, and I wasn't going to flush it where it could end up in the fish that we all eat. But I tried that, and it works. For the first time in 12 years, I have relief. I don't want to get high. I don't want to smoke pot, but I would like to have some relief. And we forget that there are people out here who truly could use some relief, and that there are lots of drugs out there that don't work. There's not much that truly works for nerve pain. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced it. Last year, this time of year, I was on crutches, truly wishing I would die. The pain was so excruciating. I have so much scar tissue in my body, and it binds around the nerves sometimes and just pinches them, and it's just excruciating. I don't want to feel that again. And if rubbing some ointment on would help, I want to have that. Do I want to use it all the time? I don't want to use any drug all the time. I mean, there's one medication I still take day in, day out. I'm told I will have to take till I die. And I'm thinking about spending $1,600 with people who swear that they can get me off and be drug-free. Because I don't want to take anything. I don't like being dependent. But the occasional, I want to know that I can do that, and I want to know that I can do it legally. So I didn't really pay attention. Honestly, I voted against legalizing marijuana because I really didn't think of the medicinal uses. I never really considered it for what I had. So I don't know if you can regulate it and say it can only be for this or that or how it goes. But please, as you go forward, I do agree we voted. Much as I wasn't for it at the time, people voted, they wanted it. Representatives should follow that. But beyond that, think of the people who are hurting and who will benefit this and can be more productive members of society. I don't hold a full-time job. I cannot physically hold a full-time job. I was lucky enough to have a skill that I can do a part-time job. And I have clients who are understanding enough that if I call and say, I cannot work today, they say, okay. But I can work more when I don't hurt. And that means I can spend more in my community when I don't hurt. When I hurt, I don't leave my house. When I hurt, my husband does everything right down to walk my dogs. So please keep in mind that there are many people who are hurting out there with pain that just, there's nothing, nothing legal and prescribed that will help. Or if it is, it puts you so out of your mind. 16 milligrams of morphine. I don't remember 2.5 weeks of my life. I don't know if you know what that's like. I don't know if anybody's experienced that. It's not common. No memory. I hear I was very funny, I have to say. But I don't remember it. I don't want to go there again ever in my life. So please, keep in mind the people who could use this and become more productive members or stay more productive members of this community, because they can then spend more, which benefits all of us, honestly, benefits the economy. So,
Thank you very much.
and one last thing, could you guys put a speaker out there? You've got overflow seating, but no one can hear a thing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.
Did Spencer come back?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. I can't see that far.
Good evening, council. I'm going to make it real quick here.
Thank you.
There's lots of important issues, and lots of people have said some really important stuff here tonight. The first topic, it probably sounds a little crazy, but I want to talk about the kids for a minute. And those are the kids at the Houtling School. I was reading in the paper about the situation with the crosswalks there and the yellow zones and parents pulling up there, and then we got talking. So apparently there's 40 people got together and they were trying to find a solution for this, because it's pretty dangerous when the cars park in there. I personally have witnessed that. I've taken all my kids to Houtling, and it used to drive me crazy. It made my blood boil because it sets our kids up. It's dangerous as hell when people pull in there. So I understand what the 40 people getting together talking about. There was some proposals of like a bus turnaround stuff. Makes a lot of sense. We probably don't have the money right now at $29 a barrel oil or something. We got to figure out how to do this on a little more of a budget. So I was kind of looking at it thinking, simple solution is some cones in the yellow zones. I think the paint doesn't stop people from pulling up in there and parking real quick, but I think if we toss cones out right there, it's simple and done. It's not something we need to overthink. We need to talk about for a year and a half, postpone with a whole bunch of stuff, put it out to a city vote, any of that kind of stuff. I just want to see it happen. I want to see it happen fast, because that's the safety of the kids. Let's really move on this one instead of dragging our feet. And I'm thinking, let's just have like one of the city crews, and they need to go in about 7 o'clock in the morning. The kids don't even really show up till about 7:45 for the playground. And I'm thinking till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. It seems like a city crew can just roll right on by, drop the cones, put them on there, pick them up at the end of the day, something like that. And I think we'll make the situation a lot better for the interim until we figure out what we're going to do. But I want to see, Bob, I know you know a lot about safe streets and sidewalks. I know this could be this is a borough thing, and that's a school, or it's borough. Let's just put the cones up for the kids, and let's figure out how the city can make our city streets a little bit safer right there. And it's like, I already kind of counted, I was thinking maybe 15, 20 cones along there at both sections. I went by Monday after I read the thing, and there was a officer. He was on waiting for people, but he was like at Thompson Terrace. And everybody was out of the zone on that crosswalk, but as I drove through, there were 3 cars plugging all the zones on the other end, and you just can't see, So cones, anyways. So not to hold everybody up, but I just don't want to be a one-trick pony up here, man. I'm worried about the kids too. So moving into the marijuana subject, look at the turnout here. It's getting bigger every time. My prediction came true. I kind of feel good about that. But so I just want to get right down to brass tacks. Here we are. We're all sitting here tonight. We got some people missing, some people aren't. All of that kind of stuff. But I don't want to pick on the Honorable Mayor Williams here, and with all due respect, I like you a lot. All right, I just hold people accountable for stuff. So in the very beginning of this ban, you kind of proposed this ban, and you looked down here, and there was like almost nobody here, and you said, "We need to vote. Let's vote for this ban, because I don't see anybody here to support it." And I'm sure I can pull those ones back up. I know I've misquoted some of the stuff in the past. You kind of corrected me the other day about the edible stuff. I do recall you saying you had troubles with edibles. In my mind, I just likened that to the fact that you wouldn't be doing them, but I didn't know that you would impose that upon us. But As far as the 350, I think you're getting 330. How close am I now? 330. You don't know your pay? You got to get in the game here. Come on. All right, I'll tell you. You're getting 330, which is $30 more than everybody else here.
Oh, good.
That makes you the leader, right? So when you lead and you say, hey, nobody here's to represent, so let's go ahead and make this vote. I want you to do that again tonight. I want you to have consistency. So why not just, let's not mess with the voter, because the voter already spoke, and the group is here, and most of the majority has said, hey, we want it. So I'd like to see maybe Harris and Zingy get some of your stuff together, say, hey man, let's throw it out for a vote to be in support tonight. Let's make something happen tonight. You've done nothing for a year. If you postpone this thing with saying, we're gonna put it to the voter and figure out what we already know by the group, you're only stalling longer. You're not really accomplishing the task that we put you out here, and we're not gonna be able to avoid this recall situation. So I say, let's roll up our sleeves right now tonight, and let's push it to a vote tonight. I'm done.
Okay, that was the last person on the list. Is there anybody else who wants to address the council tonight?
Mayor, there's more on the list, and on the list back there.
Bring it to us. Don't worry. You bet. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Mark Woodward. I live at 1027 Miller Street, not Millar. And I'm here because I'm pro-business and pro-economic development.
Thank you, sir.
And that's the reason that I'm here. If you checked your email, you saw an email that I sent to the city council last night. And to me, this is the retail marijuana stores is an economic vote and not a moral one. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at today's paper, one of the first things you see is on the column on the left, local fish tax revenues down 70%. And then you hear that, you know, the session just started up in Juneau, and we're looking at a $3.5 billion state deficit. And so at some point we have to look economically and think to ourselves that Ketchikan's kind of going to be on its own for a while because the state just doesn't have any money. We haven't seen that yet because, again, session just started. And so if you look at what the Marijuana Control Board did, is they offered up a coffee shop retail license endorsement that allows us access to the cruise ship industry. And if we do that correctly, and if you look at Juneau, Juneau cannot do that because they have a city ordinance banning smoking. So if they had a retail shop there in Juneau, it can only offer edibles. And again, you have to look at this economically. So let's say 10% of 1 million cruise ship visitors go into the store, and only half of those buy something worth $50. That's $2.5 million in sales. And if we would add our city sales tax, an additional 5% pot tax, that's $275,000 in tax revenue just from the cruise ship industry. And again, let's look at other things that would benefit from that, because it would become a year-round industry for this city economically. You're talking about hotels that would see an increase in revenue, restaurants, okay, other businesses that support the tourism industry, and this would be a year-round thing for us. So again, you could be looking at a yearly tax revenue of over $300,000. And at some point, I think you need to look at that and maybe set morals aside and maybe set friendships aside, because I think all of you right now are in a tough position right now because you have to look at both of those things, you know. And so I'm just saying, if you look at it only from the economic side, there is a resource to have that only Ketchikan can have right now in the state of Alaska, and I think that's something special, and I think we should look at that economically. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mark. John Hanson. Is John here? John Hanson?
I'm here.
Come on up, John.
I actually want to forgo my position so we have plenty of time to get to the vote.
Thank you.
All right.
Jack Slagle.
Ditto, and one no ditto.
Okay. Jack Slagle. Is Jack here?
Yeah.
Come on, Jack.
Was not planning on speaking tonight. I just want to bring a couple points. Number one, I'm not smoking now. I can't smoke. I got a job, and I feel like I'm raising that point for that demographic is when you got life happening, you deal with it. My point is, I don't have a problem with pot, and I never have, and I don't think it should be illegal anymore, and I feel that the people have voted, and I feel like our town should capitalize, pave the way, make the money, because it's gonna happen. And whether anybody wants to dispute that, it's the way that our country is going. And like I said, I don't smoke. And that's, you know, I'd love to, but I can't. I got different priorities right now. And I feel like I'm representing a demographic of Ketchikan, the workers, people that are out there grinding every day, that know their priorities, and feel the same way that I do. A lot of people are afraid to get up and speak, but I can pee clean, so I'm not afraid. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of this town, and I'm proud of this turnout, and I'm proud that we are going to have retail shops in this town. We are going to capitalize on this, and this is Alaska. We're not going to be afraid. We're going to do what needs to be done, and yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Thanks. Thanks, Jack. All right, anybody else who wants to address the council that didn't sign up? Anybody else who wants to speak to the council? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm a little bit nervous
Your
about
name,
public
please?
speaking, but my name is John Gildersleeve.
Thanks, John.
And I live at 4451 South Tongass, and you know, 4 months ago I was terminal with Hodgkin's disease. And I've pretty much been a pot smoker most of my life, but the doctor was pretty amazed, you know, when she said, hey, you gained 35 pounds on the chemotherapy diet. And I can attribute it mostly to pot, you know. I'm able to live my life still and raise my children for however long the Lord fucking lets me do that. I'm sorry for my, but you know what you're doing when you prevent it from being a legal commercial industry is you are giving the money to the black market. You're saying it's okay, instead of police funding, you're going to give that funding to people who have no regard for the law, and they're real good at it, and they're going to continue to be real good on it. You're just going to line their pockets, and I'm not saying they're evil people, but wouldn't you rather have that money in the troopers' fucking coffers, or the police department, or why make criminals out of somebody that isn't a criminal? I think that's my basic bottom line.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Done. Thank you, everybody, for coming. All right, that brings us back to the regular agenda. We have consent agenda. On the consent agenda, I was thinking of adding 682 appointments, Dragon and Dave to the Planning Commission. Under KPU, that second reading of the rates, I was going to put on the consent, the 2016, 7A, 3 and 4, the agreement between the city and the Visitors Bureau and the police vehicle acquisition, and number 7, Borough Shuttle for the Wearable Arts Show. Anybody have any problem with adding those couple items?
Lou, I got a comment on one of them if we go, and that's it.
Okay, when it comes up, just go ahead.
Okay.
All right. Do we have a motion to consent?
Your Honor, I move consent.
Do we have a second? Second. Moving and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you read the items?
Approval of minutes, regular meeting of January 7th, 2016. Declaration of surplus property in the Ted Ferry Civic Center lobby furniture. The award of contract number 1601, the Ketchikan, the City of Ketchikan vehicle towing, storage, and disposal with Purdy's Totem Towing. The liquor license transfer to the Edgewater Hotel Group LLC, and a restaurant designation permit for the same company. Exempting the procurement of flooded battery cells for the electric division from the competitive bid process. and that's gonna be purchased from Engineered Equipment Company. Exempting the procurement of maintenance and support services for the Telecommunications Division Core Network Systems from competitive bid, and that's with Brocade of San Jose, California. Appointments to boards and commissions, and that's the Planning Commission appointments. 2016 agreement between the City of Ketchikan and Ketchikan Visitors Bureau Incorporated. 2016 Police Department Vehicle Acquisition with Cal Worthington Ford. And the Borough Shuttle Service to Ted Ferry Civic Center 2016 Marble Arts Show.
Thank you very much. Dick, you had a question on one?
Yeah, it's 7A3, the agreement between the city and KVB, and my concern is, part of that agreement says that they will operate the two visitor centers. And I brought this up, I think, maybe when Patty was here earlier. I'm concerned that Dock 2 Visitor Center is not open until the ships leave, or at least wait until all aboard. And I don't think I ever got a straight answer out of it. There are people looking for those services. And I took a look at the cruise line schedule, and I think there's 34 days that the ships are there in docks 1 and 2 past 6 o'clock. And I think we need to put in part of that agreement that they will stay there at least ways until the all aboard time of the ship, so that people got a facility to go to, because that's what we built it for. And that's what we're paying them to do, to keep it open.
Carl, will you pass that on, see what we can do?
If the council wishes to incorporate that, we can make a.
Do you guys want to?
It probably doesn't amount to half an hour on those days, but maybe a couple of days or a little later. I know on Saturdays, 2 ships are in until 8 o'clock, so they may be there from.
We have 4 hands that want to include that.
Well, let's have a proposal come back so we can see what it's gonna, if there's any additional cost to it.
Yeah, we can have Patty. Can you have Patty come up?
I will make the request.
Thank you. All right, call the roll on consent.
Harris.
Aye.
Singy.
Yes.
Severson.
Yes.
Isom. Yes. Coos.
Dick, did you vote?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay, I didn't.
Sorry.
All right, that
Thought he
passes.
said yes.
Okay,
All right,
fine.
can we take 5?
One moment, hold on, Coach KJ. Where are we at? Okay, do you want to take care of the marijuana thing first, or wait? Okay, we'll take 5.
Thanks for the answer to that.
Timing of the meeting is not working, and we apologize. It's not a conspiracy. I have no idea why it isn't.
It is not on our end.
All right, this brings us down to unfinished business 6A1, ordinance 16-1808, prohibiting the operation of marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, and retail sales, setting forth a sunset provision, second reading. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor, I'll put it on the table.
Thank you.
I move the City Council approve in second reading ordinance number 16-1808, prohibiting the operation of marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, and retail marijuana stores, setting forth a sunset provision and establishing effective date.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Moved to second. Bob, do you want to start it, or me?
Either way, doesn't matter.
Go ahead if you want.
And again, I don't dispute, and I don't think anybody at this table disputes the fact that there is medical benefits to marijuana, at least a portion of the plant itself. And I do wish that the state would have addressed that somewhere along in their regulations. And when we talk about it under a business atmosphere, one of the problems I still have is it's a Class 1 substance with the federal government, and there's no banking regulations in regards to how they handle the funds from those. And we're gonna have to figure out the sales tax issues and the enforcements and all that other kind of stuff that goes along with it. And as passionate as the people are, and I do respect your opinion greatly, I myself have a feeling that with the still being a Class 1 substance with the federal government, with the lack of that type of stuff, I'm still against the retail sales. But saying that, whatever the vote manages to be, I'll get behind and support whatever we're doing. I did look into the regulations, just prior to this meeting, and I have it coming up later on, whereas if this had passed, I would have asked for a local option for an election. And I think that we have that opportunity to do it by April if we're gonna do something in that manner. I thought it was a big enough issue with the community. And then I know that people are saying, you know, we voted on this. What we voted on was an initiative with the state to legalize the recreational use of marijuana. At that particular time of the vote, there were absolutely no regulations present. The state of Alaska had to come up with those, and put those into place. And, you know, this isn't something new to just Ketchikan. Colorado legalized the recreational sales of marijuana, and they had 53 counties that have chosen to permit the retail, and 27 levying special tax. But more did not. The group, 165 cities decided not to do it. And another 16 municipalities have moratoriums such as what we're going to pass here. And the industry spokesman, who is Mike Elliott, is the executive director of the marijuana industry group in Colorado, it says if communities don't want this, it shouldn't be forced down their throat. And I think the local option is one of the best aspects of their amendment 64. And so, you know, and that's kind of where I was at this, and I think I don't want to be the judge and jury on this thing. That wasn't my intention. I think it's probably reasonable to do a vote on it. But again, if we vote it at a table tonight, because it will come up, whatever that vote is, that's democracy, and we'll move forward. But I don't think that we're voting on the same thing that you voted on in the initiative. I think there's a lot more to it than that. So that's the reason why it's on the agenda, and I was supporting it. Thank you.
All right. I mentioned earlier in the meeting that this thing's going to go down tonight. My only thing is, you know, I've been pushing for, you know, making a decision one way or the other. I guess the way everything has gone on different votes and people being here and people not being here, if it is going to be ever brought back to the council on the prohibition, I'd make sure the council member, whoever wants to bring it, has 4 secure votes, so we don't go through a whole bunch of more meetings, a whole bunch of changes or whatever. I just, and I don't know if there's that kind of support or not. Otherwise, I've got the regulations, and we'll start going and proceeding with if you know, what needs to be done for retail sales. I don't have much else. We've pretty much talked out. Dick?
Yeah, I need to say a couple things. I think you're right. It's not going to pass tonight because of the people that are missing, but and that's okay. But I think there's 2 or 3 things that need to be made in my mind clear. Is one, Bob said it. We didn't vote on what we got right now. We didn't have a clue except I'm going to get that it's going to be legal and the state's going to make some money. And I guess it's a matter of opinion as to whether it's a new industry rising, but the community's too small to maybe make any money. And so I think the community was misled there, and I think the initiative, and I blame the initiative people that put it together, left out the people that need it. The people with the medical marijuana need, I'd give it to them in a minute. I'd haul it in from down south if we get away with it, because those are the important ones. And I know it helps them, and they're all out there saying it. So don't get me wrong. You folks need it, and this is going to be probably the only way we'll get it until the feds do something. I guess the other thing is I'm sort of disappointed in the fellow council person that's saying we've done nothing. We had nothing to do until we got the state regulations, except sat on our fanny, and you and Bob sat on a committee and did some zoning and some other work. So I take issue with having done nothing. That's just a cop-out. And today, and actually, we have been doing something. We got a lot of people out here in the crowd. So you got guarantee we've been doing something that's not really well liked.
They got a lot of pissed off people.
Hold on, JJ, let
That's okay. We all go that way sometimes. But to say that whenever we're working through a process, we're not doing anything, sometimes if we work a little sore, we get a better product out of it. But anyway, I'll be quiet, Lou. We'll go where it's going to go.
Anybody else want to say anything before we vote? Judy, then Julie.
I have a couple questions for Mitch, if he could come up. I just want to make sure I understand. Exactly.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah. So, if this ordinance fails, we revert back to the state and people can start applying for or their licenses to
That's
grow?
correct.
And
That's
okay.
correct.
And can this be brought back as not the same ordinance? Somebody would have to have a new one, or what's the deal there?
The statute doesn't spell out any particular time frame for when, or for that matter, exactly how, whether it be voter-driven or elected official-driven, that you can exercise any and all of the local options, and the regs, which aren't into effect yet, as I read them, contemplate that could happen in any particular given times, similarly to, and in part, I think, modeled after the various dry options that are in the marijuana alcohol regulations.
Anything else, Judy?
No, I'm good.
Thanks, Mitch. Judy? Julie, I mean.
I just feel like I should speak up because this is an issue I changed my mind on. Early in the process, I switched. And I want to thank everyone that spoke tonight. It's not easy, and it's a real scary thing, public speaking, and you all spoke well. And we can see by who showed up tonight. Everyone knew this was on the agenda, and we see who showed up. I'm not going to base my decision on the tax dollars that we're going to get. I'm not going to base my opinion on the medical benefit that some people will get. And I'm not going to base my decision on my personal moral standard. But in my opinion, the people did decide whether it isn't perfect and it isn't like what it's even going to look like, they decided to move forward on it. And that's why I'm going to vote this down. And I just felt like I needed to say that.
Thanks, Julie.
Now,
KJ?
A question, because
Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused
You bet.
sometimes. So if
Join the crowd.
Yeah, so if we vote this, this thing down, what do we do then? We're not gonna do nothing, because we're real good at that. Sorry, Dick. Bob?
Bob?
I think that we have the opportunity to mirror the title that the borough has put in regards, very similar to reviewing liquor licenses. And we have the option to review marijuana licenses and all the complexities that go along with that in regards to their security systems and all that, as long as they meet state standards and that kind of stuff.
See, I was under the impression,
Brad?
butting back, I was under the impression that if we didn't make this decision to ban, that we had no leg to stand on if someone was going to apply for a license. So we're back to not having a leg to stand on.
Yeah, we don't, I don't know where the timetable is. Mitch would have better understanding of how, or Katie, how an ordinance would go into place and how long it takes to get one for the city of Ketchikan. The zoning issue will be handled through borough code. And I think the application process for the state gives us, what, 90 days, 60 days, 60 days from first application?
If I might, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Well, a couple things. If there is absolutely nothing in our ordinances, anybody can comment on these applications, and I think we can track them and see them as they come in. The next thing is, it's my understanding that the borough, insofar as they have a license protest ordinance, at this point, that would apply to any applications coming out of the city. But I believe they wrote it that if the city was to have its own process, then it would control the protest operation for the places inside the city limits. So assuming this temporary ban doesn't pass in second reading, the next thing I think to do would be to bring back an ordinance that sets out the parameters of a public protest, which I imagine will look a lot like the boroughs and a lot like our alcohol license process. Excuse me.
Thanks, Mitch. All right, so we have a direction to go. Anybody else before we do the vote? Call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Isom,
No.
Coos,
Yes.
Harris,
No, ma'am.
Severson,
Yes.
Zingy.
No.
Okay, it fails 2-3, and we'll see what we want to do in March on the process. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and I'm glad the item was the first on the agenda.
Now you say March. Why is that?
I don't know, when Mitch put something together, and if we want to do our own process for reviewing licenses, which I think...
I'm not trying to...
No,
Yeah,
I'm just
wanna
saying...
make sure, 'cause it's another month, we're not gonna do nothing.
So we can apply for we can apply next month with the state?
Yeah, there's nothing we can stop anybody. No, we'll just look at, if we want to be able to, you know, like we do on liquor review, we'll be looking into that, that kind of process so we can review applications. And, because I've got a lot of questions, you know, how many, is there a limit on how many licenses? Can we limit how many licenses are in town? I don't know if those are the questions I've been getting, but I don't have the answers for. But I have all the regulations right here to start reading.
Fascinating story.
Okay, so that's where we're at right now, so thank you, everybody, for showing up. We're gonna move on. All right, that brings us down to 7A, new business 2, change order 1, contract 1523 Thomas Basin Harbor Improvement Project, BAM LL. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I move the city council approve change order number 1 for contract number 1523 Thomas Basin Harbor Improvements Project in the amount of $63,598 between the city of Ketchikan and BAM LLC for contract number 1523 Thomas Basin Harbor Improvements Project. Authorize funding from the previously approved capital contingency and direct the manager to execute the change order on behalf of the city council.
Second.
Moved in second. I believe it's a pump station or something, Carl?
Correct.
Okay. Anything, Dick?
Nope.
Call the roll.
Severson,
Yes.
Coos,
Yes.
Zingy,
Yes.
Harris,
Aye.
Isom.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 5-0. That brings us down to 785, potential expansion of scope of services for water and wastewater rate study update contract, FCS Group. Anybody got a motion?
Yeah, Your Honor,
I think that was Dick's.
for probably discussion purposes only, but.
Yeah, go ahead.
I move city council direct staff to expand the scope of services for FCS, group water and wastewater rate study update to include metering of residential customers and prepare such a budget transfers as may be required from the appropriate reserves of the wastewater services and the KPU enterprise funds to finance the work, and said budget transfers submitted to the city council for formal consideration and approval.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Dick, what are you after?
Yeah, Dick,
Lou.
yeah, Mayor, I put this on there because I think at some point in time we need to be moving to it, and I read Bob's letter saying let's wait, and I don't disagree that we might not implement it right now. But, I think we need to go ahead and put this in the study if it doesn't delay it too long, because we need to move forward on the commercial side, so that we know when we say let's do residential, we've got some idea what we're looking at, instead of waiting now, okay, let's go do another study, which will take us 6 more months or a year to get another study in, and then we just keep delaying it. Sorry, KJ, we're delaying again. But if we could get this in up front while these guys are dealing with it, and like I say, if it doesn't delay it over a couple of weeks or a month, and Bob or somebody can find that out, I think we ought to put the 10 grand in, get it done, and then we know what we're looking at, the public knows what we're looking at, and and maybe there's even a way, once we see it, we can figure out a way to implement part of it on people's own in cooperation with some of the residential people, because, you know, right now, if I look at some of the stuff we're doing right, the meters that they've got out on residences are probably only averaging 4,000, maybe 5,000 gallons a month, which is about what I did in Colorado when I was there. And that runs down to $13 a gallon, 1,000 gallons. And that's pretty doggone outrageous. And so, I don't know how that's all gonna tweak out. Because, it's somewhere in the line, the bottom line is we gotta have so many dollars to run the system. So I don't know how it'll all spread out when we get done, but I think we need to be looking at it now rather than later. And we may not implement it now, I'm not saying that, but we need to look at the study.
Bob?
Well, I think we did in the original study talk about what the proposed meter rate may be, and we were looking at what Juneau also had. I'm afraid that this is gonna be a process of going through the commercial part of it, and by the time we get to that point in time down the road, the information will have to be redone anyway, because it'll be out of date. Our rate tables will have changed. We don't know what's gonna happen with our water quality and where we're gonna go with that. If you had to put in a treatment plant because of a failed whatever was, or new regulations, that cost would be substantially more. So, we know that meter systems work, but I don't believe that our problem is within our residential structure at this particular point in time. So I guess I'm okay with going with the finance director's recommendation at this time and work on those that are right in front of us for the next couple of years.
Anybody else? Call the roll.
Singy?
No.
Coos?
Yep.
Harris?
Yep.
Severson?
No.
Isom?
Yes.
That fails, 3-2.
No, that passes.
Now we have to have 4.
You have to have four.
You have to have 4.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us down to, let's see. Ordinance number 7A6, ordinance 16-1809, amending Kitchicum Municipal Code section, we pulled that, sorry. That brings us down to Bob, 7A8. Did you still want to discuss that, Bob?
No need at this point.
Okay, it brings us down to 7B3, ordinance 16-1810, participation in the agreement for the purchase of television program services. First reading, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
I move the City Council approve first reading ordinance number 16-1810, approving participation in an agreement between National Cable Television Cooperative, Inc. and AMC, WeTV, IFC, Sundance TV, BBC America, and BBC World News for the purchase of television programming services, providing for the filing of referendum petitions and establishing an effective date.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody want to talk about it, Dick?
Yeah, I've got one question. Is Sundance TV part of the whole package, or can it be, is it a separate item?
No, it's all part of the package. It's,
That's too bad, because they're against resource development and use, so I guess I can't throw them out, but if they weren't part of the package, they could go.
Thank you. I agree with you.
Okay.
All right, call the roll. Oh, Bob, did you have something?
This is for more than a one-year agreement. This is
that's correct.
it's a
That's what-
five-year agreement, and the cost will escalate over the number of
That's
years.
correct.
Call the roll.
Harris?
Aye.
Isom?
Yes.
Coos?
Okay.
Severson?
Yes.
Singy?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 5-0. That brings us down to vouchers for the Daily News, $311. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor, I move to approve vouchers for Ketchikan Daily News in the matter of $10.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the roll.
Coos?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Singy?
Yes.
Harris?
Oh, yes, no, I was just wondering about $7,000. Is that separate?
No, I just, 300.
We pulled that one out.
Oh, okay, never mind.
All right, that brings us down to, that passes 5-0. That takes us down to manager's report. Carl?
Mr. Mayor, I have two. Cooperative Relations Committee met last Friday. At council direction, we did place the issue of the tobacco excise tax on the agenda. There was very discussion over the issue. There was no definitive consensus reached. The matter was brought up at the assembly meeting on Monday night. Again, I wouldn't say there was any definitive consensus reached by the assembly. Assemblymember Rotecki did indicate that he was gonna bring forward an ordinance, enacting an excise tax at the borough level. It's unclear as to what the precise provisions of that are gonna be and how that's gonna interact with what the council may or may not wish to do. I guess I'm looking for direction as to what the next steps might be, us as staff.
Well, I'd just wait and see what Rotecki brings back and see if the borough's interested in doing it. We can, I mean, I think we've already approved once that we were in favor of it, so.
We can do that.
Thanks, Carl.
The other is, Mr. Mayor, I just want to update the council relative to some action I intend to take with regard to training for the library and museum advisory boards. I've asked the city clerk, and she's agreed to do presentations, as she has previously done with the Port and Harbors Advisory Board, as to what the appropriate role of advisory boards are. I intend to direct the library and museum directors that type of training I'm going to consider mandatory. I'm also instructing all of my department heads that have active advisory boards, which would be Port and Harbors, Library and Museum, if they don't already have it, to acquire the necessary equipment to make sure that the advisory board meetings are recorded, such that we have the ability to go back and review precisely what was said at those meetings. It's really being done to protect both the advisory board and the employees that they work with. And I just want to allow or update the council that's something we're going to move forward on. And that's all I've got.
All right. Anybody have any questions on any items? Right?
Comment, that's fine.
Carl, on the cruise ship schedule, after I had the meeting with the guys from Earth One, one thing they were interested in was switching every other week. There's a Princess ship on 2, and then having it switch down to 1, if that was possible. I talked to Rick, and he was going to talk to the industries, and so he hasn't got back to me. So I have no problem going ahead with the schedule, but I still think that's an open issue that we should be involved with to see what goes on. But that's my opinion. Anybody else have anything for Carl? All right, that brings us down to city clerk's file.
Nothing, Your Honor, other than I will spend some time right after the meeting, make sure that the video is posted so people can watch it tonight if they want to.
Thank you. City attorney's file.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Future agenda items. Mayor and council comments. Dick.
Yeah, probably just a couple. One is I think, even when we passed the budget, I think things are tight. We got to keep watching what's going on. So I'd like to see, if it's not too much effort, to see a monthly report on vacancies that we were in and out and filling. And then the other comment I would say, and one of the gentlemen made a comment about the sale of KPU here tonight, is a number of people asked me what's going on. And so if we can have something that we can discuss that's what's not, so it's all transparent as we can make it. We need to let the public know the status of what's going on.
I think the only thing we have, I mean, we have had looks from GCI, and we've had other, that outfit that's working for us, but everything has fallen through, and I think we have one left that might be interested to give us a proposal.
And I think the public just doesn't know it, because they've dealt with most of it behind closed doors. And it's not after it's out.
Yeah, and trust me, if we ever do, and I say that's if, come up with a possible buyer or whatever, it's going to be thoroughly vetted with the community. The council can vote to do it or not, but I tell you, it's going to be, it's a community asset, and it's going to be well vetted through the community. So, thanks, Dick. Judy?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Carl, I'm happy to hear that Katie's going to go out to the advisory boards. I know she came out to us when we did Ports and Harbors, and we all found that pretty beneficial. In my industry, we record everything, and part of that is so, it helps us do minutes, so I'm happy to hear that. And I'm happy that we recognize 2 of our employees. I think many times we're quick to point the finger here, and maybe we should take a second look at that and appreciate the people that do work for us, because they do pretty damn good jobs. That's all I got.
Thank you. Julie,
Well, I think I missed my chance. I'd like something on a future agenda.
what you got?
Business Retention and Expansion Program. Are we familiar with it?
No.
You didn't bring it up last year.
No.
It's a program that we would all have to be actively engaged in, so I'd like to bring it to the council to see if you even want to do it.
Okay, get stuff to Carl and we'll put it on there. If any objections? Okay, sounds good. Anything else, Julie?
No.
Bob?
We did have a library advisory board, and to Linda's credit, she did have a portion of that agenda that talked about the do's and don'ts of, and the powers of advisory boards, so I was real appreciative of that. Mr. Strasberg brought up a problem, and I agree with him, Houtling School and the dropping off and picking up of children in that vicinity. But the high school is just as bad, because people are trying to jockey around the buses and come down the fairway there, and kids are going to their cars across the street and not looking and dropping out behind buses. But at Houtling, there's no parking, no temporary parking. The parking spaces get taken up probably 15 minutes before school gets out, because people know it's at a premium. And then people are circling and trying to find a place. And these are grade school kids, and they come out in the crosswalk and they go across the street to get into the parking lots that are there. Or people drop them off and they cross the street to go to school in the morning. And so I know the school has been talking to the parents organization about crossing guards, having rotational parents come in, and they have to go to a class and get trained and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're working on that. But I think the bigger issue there, and I've seen it, is there needs to be some kind of a temporary parking area. The borough has property alongside of Thatcher that goes up there that maybe they can incorporate something for an angled parking area, or I don't know, but it's something that's that you can put some cones out there. Like you said, there's already yellow, though. The police department they go up there every afternoon and they enforce the parking regulations. If you park in a yellow, you're gonna get a ticket. If you park in yellow and leave your car there, you're gonna get a ticket. And so those things are fairly well enforced, but the fact is, it's such a mobile operation that for that 5-minute period that kids are getting out of school, it's dangerous. Somebody's gonna get hit there. And so we can relay that to the borough. I don't know where the city can be involved in that, but I'm certainly willing to look at that for the safety of the kids. That's what I have.
Thanks a lot, Bob. KJ?
Okay, number one, I'm still confused on the marijuana thing, but it's no big deal. We'll do something someday. The other thing is I wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to Seattle on February 21st. I'm going to spend a week in Seattle doing marijuana research because I care about you guys. I want you to know that.
I won't ask what kind of research.
Research.
All right, thank you, KJ. Two things, on the marijuana thing, right now there is not going to be a prohibition on retail sales. So we move ahead for the next thing. I mean, I'm just happy, it's been something that has been addressed. The council was trying to make a decision one way or the other. It's come out this direction, and we move forward unless there's going to be a group of council members that want to get behind another prohibition, which I don't see. So now we look at the process of licensing and go from there, see where we get. We're always moving ahead, and that's part of the process. And they seem like a pain in the butt, but that's government and the way it works. And but everybody gets to be heard, and we go from there. Second of all, I'm going to do something I've never done before, and I think I've never heard a mayor do before, and that is I'd like to call the Facilities Naming Committee to a meeting and come up with have a possible recommendation to present to the council. Who is on our committee?
I would have to look.
I believe it's council members Coos and Harris.
Okay, well, I'll call them. Is there anybody else on the committee?
You
Is
want
it
to
just
name it?
Just
Williams
two.
or whatever it is.
What do you want to name? We can do that right now.
No, we're going to go through the process.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have the city clerk get a hold of us, and we'll get together. And
So I'm just thinking the Dick Coos / KJ Harris
I
Memorial. Oh, there we go.
all right. Well, they wouldn't name that bathroom after me. I'm going for something else. The, what do you call it? So I am doing that, and then, I don't think I have anything, oh, yeah, well, that was the only thing I had on my list, so. Is there anything else? I think our executive sessions got postponed to the next meeting. Oh, sorry. And, if there's nothing else.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
What you trying to name?
Good job, Carl.